I would prefer to take because I think what you guys would like to know is because I was told the brief is that what the real industry is like. I mean, more than bring stars in your eyes. Because in Bombay, if once you start looking for money to make films, the first question they'll ask you is who is the star. So they don't ask you what the script is. They don't ask you what the story is. They don't ask you what you made before. They ask you who is the star. Yeah. So what would you guys like to know? I would prefer a more question answer kind of a thing because we have little time, and we can address specific questions. Or how many of you want to be directors? I mean, film directors. How many of you? Okay, so that's pretty encouraging. There are only two of them. No, because it's generally like if you have around 100 assistant directors, probably one or two of them become directors. So I think that's pretty encouraging. Yeah, that's how it is. So you have a very realistic point of view of how life is outside. So I don't think you need me. so, so what do the rest of you guys want to do? I mean, what, like television or production houses or what? I mean, journalism. What? Pardon? Journalism. It's largely a journalism kind of a course,
It's the Bachelor's of Mass Media, which is from
which
first
includes
year
everything.
to third
Okay,
year.
okay.
But having said that, Atul, just checking on your background, if I had to go into a finance class and ask how many were going to become directors, I'm sure there
Yeah,
would be
yeah.
no
That would
hands
be that
up.
would be only me. Yeah. Yeah. So no, see.
So actually, I have a
Okay.
question then. Maybe if you could start off by what got you interested in
Just
this,
in
in terms of the thought process behind it, the exposure
No,
that you
I think
got
you
to
just got
it,
to be. I
or
think
did
you
it
just
just
got.
come out of
Yeah,
interest?
you just want to be poor for the rest of your life. That's enough reason to be a
I
director.
think
I think So that's it. Because it's pretty tough. I mean, very clearly and very honestly, it's pretty tough to make a first film. That is one, and then two, to actually get a release of a film, to actually deliver a hit, so that the market looks at you differently. The market gives you more films to make, or that the actors respect you, that the distribution business respects you. So it's a far tougher thing to even get a first film, honestly, because, and I would suggest that whoever wants to, even any kind of media, like say even a TV serial, or even do a short film or whatever that you want, the first habit that you need to cultivate is to write. You know, because then a lot of people feel they write well. That is the first thing that you need to get out of your heads. That is that you write well. Because I mean, even if you're writing, even if you're going to be journalists or whoever else that you want to be, uh, yeah, I mean, it's very important to understand whether you're doing a good job of what you are. Because when I passed out I went to the Film Institute after I was there for about 4.5 years, and I wrote 4 5 scripts, and then I then I started working with Sriram Raghavan, who's now making Badlapur actually, and who's made Johnny Gaddar and all that. And he used to really, I mean, excuse the expression, but take my happiness all the time on it. Because I realized that I really write very badly. I mean, it's like this is a film which I made in 2007. I passed out in 2004. I'm sure if I'd made this film in 2004 or 2005, I wouldn't have made. I wouldn't have made a film which I would have been proud of, say, 10 years later. I mean, that's the difference. So, if you want to be anything, if you want to be, because there are a lot of people out everywhere who feel that they write well. I think that is the biggest problem with any kind of media. Whether it's journalism, whether it's television, whether it's films, that a lot of people are already assuming that they write well. And I think writing it's not a very instinctive process. It may be an instinctive process for a lot of geniuses, but it's a very hard working process. It takes a lot of energy to write well, because like for when you see a film, the basis of that is the writing. That's the problem with the industry, with at least the Bombay film industry or with the Indian film industry, is that nobody asks you what the script is. Okay, so if I go with the telephone directory to Shah Rukh Khan and I mean Shah Rukh Khan says, okay, I love this telephone directory, I want to make this telephone directory. I can go to any studio in the country and say, okay, Shah Rukh Khan is making this telephone directory. Why don't we shoot this telephone directory? And they'll say, okay, how many crores do you need to shoot this telephone directory? It's like that. It's a very star driven industry. It is not so much as a script driven industry, and that's apparent probably because the whole marketing game has changed. That the main reason for that is that, like, if I make a 4 crore film, I still need 6 crores to release the film. So the release game has become bigger than the making game, So it's very important. But if and when whoever is interested in making films, and when you actually go out and make films or want to make films, you will always need a great script. Please remember that. You may be the actor's best friend, or you may be whoever. You may be the biggest star in the country, and you may be his best friend, her best friend. But if you don't have a great script, you're not going to last. That's the most important thing that one has to realize about filmmaking, is that the key is the writing. Because in my opinion, filmmaking is a lot about technique, it's a lot about craft, and it's a lot about writing. So because that's why you see a lot of directors today who are successful, who haven't really gone to film school, but they have some inherent strong sense of script. And that is a very important thing. How you can develop it is that you can write and be extremely critical about it yourself. See a lot of great films and see how they have written. I mean, in the first place, it's the same thing that if you want to be a journalist, read the best pieces that are written, and then compare them with whatever you have done, or I mean, be objective about it. मैंने देख लिया और बोला अरे मैंने तो इसे अच्छा लिखा है. That's not my point. The point is that do it, see it, and that's the only way to judge yourself, and see whether what you're benchmarking yourself against. So if you're benchmarking, if you're making any film, whatever your idea is, benchmark it against the best film of that genre. So if you aim high, you will probably hit a bit lower, or very low, but you'll at least have an idea about where you're going. And most times that is very important, because most times I have seen it with a lot of people, including myself, in my initial days, is that I already feel that I'm going to be this great filmmaker, but it takes a lot of experience, and it takes a lot of kicks in the right places to realize that it's not that easy, and it's not that easy to last. One might make a first film, one might make a second film, but it's very difficult to last in the long run, unless you have the talent, unless you have luck. I mean, even luck is a vital part of it. But I mean, I think unless you really write well, or somebody comes and gives you, you wake up in the morning and there's a great script lying beside your bed, which doesn't happen normally. So let me assure you of that. So you got to go and write yourself, or find a talent which writes for you. So, but in your first film, that's not going to happen. In the first film, you're the guy, you're the person, you're the guy, girl, whoever, who's going to write it yourself. Nobody's going to come there and write it for you, because you won't have the money to pay. So it's very important to have the skill of writing, because I think it's pretty key to filmmaking. If I have to look at my own background, I mean, I come from a middle class background, and I was pretty okay at studies, probably a bit above average. So I ended up doing an MBA from a pretty decent business school. I ended up doing a cost accounting degree. I ended up working with ABN AMRO Bank in investment banking. And then one fine day I said, this is enough, and I just sat at home for 14 months before I joined the Film Institute. So how does one, and I don't really regret that part of my life, because I guess that's a process to really realizing what you've done, because I may have probably joined the Film Institute at 21 and regretted it that I didn't complete my other educations. Who knows, so there's no real step to it. The whole point is that what is the final outcome of where you see yourself. You see yourself as a director, and you see yourself as a director who keeps on making, either it can be anything. You see yourself as a Rohit Shetty who keeps on delivering a hit film, or you see yourself as a Raju Hirani who gives a message, or you see yourself as a Christopher Nolan who keeps on delivering films which are very high concept and still commercial. I mean, or you see yourself as a Terrence Malick. I mean, it's like, it's just who you see yourself as, because it's all out there. See, the best thing about films, the best thing about media, if you're willing to understand this, is that it's all out there. If you're saying that I want to be a journalist and I want to see what a great piece of writing is, it's already out there. So it's just your ego or your uh, understanding or your misjudgment of what good writing is. And it's the same thing for films. It's already out there. It's all. It's. I mean, if you say I want to see a great action film, for example. So there are these hundreds of great action films that you can see. I want to see a film which has great dialogue. So there are like hundreds of films with great dialogues in it. So there's I mean the technique part of it you need to probably learn. Ideally go to a film school. I always suggest, because you get the time to discover yourself. But more importantly, it's already out there. It's already in the. It's already been done. It's already been made, and you just need to chill and imbibe it and take it within you, and that's all that is there in this.